Welcome to another 2023 NFL prediction episode. Today we have the Indianapolis Colts. We have a little bit of a different background today, not our normal setting, but we got to keep pumping these out because the NFL season is right around the corner. Like I said, we have the Indianapolis Colts today. Before we get started, if you haven't checked out our Bears episode, our Texans episode, or our Cardinals episode, make sure to go check that out. And of course, follow, like, subscribe wherever you're listening at to keep up with all of our videos and all of our content. But the Indianapolis Colts last year were 4-12-1, and I would say it's kind of a surprise, or not really a surprise, but something different than the usual Colts success. It seems like they've had the Andrew Luck years, the Peyton Manning years, and then they had Matt Ryan last year, which I think they expected or hoped that he would have some kind of something left in the tank. That was not the case. Obviously, it was a disaster year. Jonathan Taylor, who went from elite level best running back in the league. I drafted him first in fantasy. That didn't turn out well because he had a really down year. So they went to the draft this year and they got Anthony Richardson fourth overall. And Anthony Richardson's a guy who climbed so much. His draft stock may have climbed so much higher than anybody that I've ever seen before over one little offseason. He went from a potential second round pick to the fourth overall pick in the draft, which is remarkable. And you could honestly, I can see both sides of the argument with Anthony Richardson. His body fits perfectly in the NFL. He's got all the hype and potential around him, but he's not proven it enough at the college level to really be able to know for sure that he's going to be successful in his rookie year and moving forward. So that's a big question mark. Jonathan Taylor's the other big question mark, and that's not so much his play on the field, but stuff happening off the field. So on the field, I would guess that he would have a bounce back year after what he did last year. I don't know if he's going to be what he was 2 years ago now, but he's going to be better than what he was last year. But off the field, he just requested a trade earlier this week, and owner Jim Irsay said no, they're not going to trade him. So that's something to keep an eye on because he's obviously not happy contract-wise. Running backs and getting paid is something that's been a big talking point this offseason. But he did request a trade this week, and so we'll see if Jim Irsay gives and sends him somewhere for a huge package, I'm sure, or that Jonathan Taylor, suits up as a Colt this year, which, according to Jim Irsay, as of right now, he will be a Colt. Keeping on the offense, though, I mentioned a little bit about Anthony Richardson. Like I said, I can see both ways. I think there's going to be a lot of ups and downs for Anthony Richardson this year. I think you're going to see explosive plays. I think you're going to see a lot of rookie mistakes. Now, they have Gardner Minshew as well and Sam Ehlinger. Sam Ehlinger got some run last year, and Gardner Minshew, we all know his name by now. But Anthony Richardson will be the week one starter. I would say. I mean, I don't see any world why he wouldn't be, but I do see a lot of success from him, a lot of explosiveness from him, but I also see even more mistakes from him this year in his first year in the NFL. Running back wise, I mentioned Jonathan Taylor. I do expect him to bounce back this year. Let's see what the whole the contract trade situation looks like. Besides Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss is a solid backup. They got him from Buffalo, so that's a solid backup to have. And then, guys, wide receiver wise, I've been saying this for 2 years now. I think it's one of the weakest wide receiver rooms in the league. I know Michael Pittman Jr. has been very explosive for them. I have been on the record saying I don't think he's a number one wide receiver in the NFL. I think he's at best a very good number two receiver. I don't see him blossoming into what I think a lot of people, I guess, assume he's going to blossom into. Besides Michael Pittman Jr., you have Alec Pierce, a rookie receiver last year who kind of broke on the scene a little bit, surprised some people, and then kind of fell off near the end of the year there. Josh Downs, a rookie out of North Carolina, and Isaiah McKenzie, a 9-year veteran, little slot receiver. But overall, that's not a strong wide receiver room. Offensive line was their kind of best thing on the team for a couple of years there, especially led by Quentin Nelson. Last year they had a huge fall off though, and I don't really know what that reason is, but they were 30th in the NFL on offensive line protection after being a top level offensive line the years past. So I would expect them, just like Jonathan Taylor, to bounce back and be more successful this year, but it's not a given. Defensively, they were 28th in points allowed last year, 15th in yards allowed though. Their run defense was their downfall all year long. The defense, I still think, has a lot of holes. They're led by Shaquille Leonard and DeForest Buckner at the linebacker and defensive line positions, but that's going to be a weakness. I'm not really high on the offense either. Like I think there's going to be a lot of explosiveness happening. I think Michael Pittman Jr. will have his great weeks, especially for fantasy users out there. I think Anthony Richardson will really catch some eyes sometimes, but then make throws that, if you're watching their entire game, you're like, what was he even looking at there? And Jonathan Taylor, I think, is still a top 5 running back in the league, and I think he can get back to that level. Looking at their schedule, oh man, yeah, this is not real easy. Starting week 1 at home versus the Jaguars, I have them losing this one. The Jaguars are no longer a team where you just automatically put them in the W column when you're playing against them. The Jaguars are a loaded squad this year, and they're going to make some noise. Obviously, we saw what they did last year. Week 2 at the Houston Texans, I have them losing this one. You're going to see me here with the Titans and the Texans. I have them splitting both of those season series. Week 3 at the Ravens, I have them losing this one. And the next week versus the Rams at home, I have them losing that one. So I have them 0-4 to start the year. I have them getting a W against the Titans. I have them losing at the Jaguars. I have them losing at home versus the Browns. I have them losing at home versus the Saints. I have them losing on the road at the Carolina Panthers, and I have them losing in the international series against the Patriots. So that's another 5. That's a 5-game losing streak right there. So now we're sitting at 1-9 to start the year. I have them beating the Buccaneers at home. I have them losing against the Titans, like I said, splitting that season series. I have them losing on the road at the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals are going to be so good this year. Spoiler for when we get to them later in this prediction episode later this month. I have them beating the Steelers at home. I have them losing at the Falcons. That's a very winnable game, though. I have them losing at home versus the Raiders, and then to end the season, I have them winning at home versus the Texans. So, adding that all up together, I have them going 4-13 after going 4-12-1 last year. Like I said, there's going to be moments this year where you see them really blossom and everything's clicking. There are some weeks in there, if we go back a little bit, that I could see them not winning when I had them losing. I could see them being competitive against the Saints. I could see them being competitive and possibly winning week 2 at the Houston Texans. Obviously, the Texans, that could go one way or another. The Buccaneers, the Patriots, even, I could see them being competitive. I think their ceiling is 6-11, probably. But I think their floor could be 3-14, maybe even 2-15 if things really don't work out there. So that's something to keep an eye on throughout the year. But like I said, I have them going 4-13. Our next team up is the Los Angeles Rams. So we will get that out for you guys either Tuesday or Wednesday this week. We're going to be really pumping these videos out because the season is about 6 weeks away. Preseason starts in like 10 days. So we really have to start pumping these out and making sure we don't have to do any actually during the season, because that ruins the whole point of a prediction episode. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening. Of course, follow, subscribe, like, wherever you're listening at, wherever you're watching at. Thank you so much for taking your time out, and we will see you guys for the Rams episode. Thanks.